what I want to say is tell us about yourself. So who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm Dennis Arnold II, since Toby wants to put my government out there. Uh, I, I've been powerlifting seriously now for close to 7 years. I'm an operations manager at a over-the-road trucking company. I've been working there a little over 7 years now. Married, have a 4-year-old son. Uh, just I consider myself just a normal dude. I like powerlifting a lot. I like getting strong. Um, I like cars, guns, sports, typical guy stuff, if you will.
Yeah, assuming the gender. Wink, wink. Anyway, so anyway, more on that stupid joke. All right, so we got that covered. We know who you are. So what are your lifts?
We'll start with the big three and then go on to some bigger compound movements as well. Squat, 775 in reps, and that was actually in a meet. 650 in knee sleeves. For what it's worth, I've done 570 with no belt, no sleeves or anything. Bench press, 550. I just recently did that one. And then 525 in a meet. And deadlift, 705 in the gym, 700 in a meet. I've also beltless deadlifted 675. I've done a 550-pound front squat with naked knees, and I've done a 335-pound strict overhead press. And of course, I've got two 500-pound Larson presses to my credit, and now a 495-pound close grip Larson press as well. I think that covers all the big movements I've done. And we'll throw out a 47-inch box jump too, since I'm only strong because I'm fat. I guess I can only jump to a 47-inch box because I'm fat too.
So in short, you're saying you don't even lift?
I don't even lift, not even once.
All right. So anyway, how long have you been lifting?
Seriously for close to 7 years, and then I had some, bro benching curl style lifts. Broken up probably 3 years of that before I got serious about lifting.
All right. So when did you first get serious about lifting?
I first got serious. I mean, some of my early bro lifting was, serious just in terms of benching. But when I was 26, somebody told me about powerlifting, and that's when I kind of got really serious about training everything.
Mm-hmm. Because I remember I saw you on YouTube, your YouTube suggestion, I saw 425-pound bench. I was like, 425-pound bench. Let me look. It was in my suggestions. I was like, this guy, I mean, he doesn't even look like he benches 425. And then you do it with ease. And I was like, damn, this is a strong-ass dude. And people are like, you're strong because you're fat. They don't know that at that time, even though I looked like a skinny-ass 250 pounds, actually, no, I was the same body weight as you, but I didn't even look 240. It was all on my legs. And
Right.
I'd even look 240 based on upper body. It looked like I'd even lift. But you, you just look like a normal kind of dad bod guy, but you were brutally strong. And then I was like, man, you're a strong ass dude. 425, that's something. I mean, you should just compete. You should lift. And then I was like, you should try powerlifting, basically. Squat and deadlift. I don't know if I told you verbatim. And I think another dude, if you know this dude, Javier Garcia, was around
Yep.
that time. And you're like, he squatted more than me, man. And he was also a strong dude. And it was kind of like us. And then little Brian Herscheler and all those
Yep.
people got you into a meet. But then you took off from there. Anyway, what was your starting squat and deadlift?
I thought I was squatting 400 the first time, but I was nowhere close to depth. My first real squat was 300 pounds that would actually, be a legitimate squat. And my first deadlift, I don't remember. It was either 315 or 335. I don't remember which one. And it was with gloves on, and whatever the next number up I tried, I couldn't hang on to it. I lost grip. So, but it was 315 or 335.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, and now look at you now, squatting 775 in a meet. Almost high bar out of a monolift, having 800 plus in you. I hate you. Anyway, anyway, like I said, you have to be strong to have those lifts. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the work. What attributed the most to your progress in each lift? What's the key ingredients? Obviously, everything's been said before, but what's your perspective? What have you done?
Definitely the consistent hard work, first and foremost above everything. But you kind of learn yourself as you go. You learn from others as you go. And, where early on I was just kind of blindly training. And, I just, go in, squat something heavy, squat something for reps, no real scheme to it, just putting in the work. And there's a lot to be said for simply putting in the work, because that will take you far. And then, as I progressed and got stronger, and you kind of learn, if you're smart, you'll look at what others have done and what others are saying and take that and implement it. If you're stubborn, like a lot of us, you'll learn the hard way, and you'll run yourself into the ground, and you'll plateau. So there was a hodgepodge of all of that, looking and observing from others, making my own mistakes. But at the end of the day, it really is just the consistent work and staying after it, not quitting, not giving up. And, when you do hit a plateau, figuring out why you hit that plateau and how to overcome it.
Yeah, man. Anyway, what's your prep for each lift? Do you have like a ritual? You have a song you listen to? You have a mental preparation? Like, what goes through your mind each lift, and what goes through the day each lift? How do you prepare for each lift and each training session?
Okay, so honestly, at this point, the training sessions themselves, I'm a robot. It's my task. I'm going to complete it. I don't have to rely on any rituals or getting hyped up for the training sessions. Now, if a meet, or if it's a big single day or a big double or something like that, I'm big on visualizing. Even upon waking up, if today I'm going to go for a new 1 rep training max on squat, I wake up that day with the number I want to hit, visualizing myself hitting it in my head. Upon waking until I get to the gym, immediately before performing the lift, I'm huge on visualizing, and that goes with all 3 lifts. As far as music, I'm not super reliant on music, but I do, like a good hype song, and I don't have any one go-to anymore. Over the years, you'll listen to a bunch of music.
Just name one off the head. You don't have to have a go-to. I don't have a go-to. I listen to a lot of music. So just name one you could share. Like, what do you listen to recently?
Nuck If You Buck. That's probably more than any other song, the one that I would go to if, gun to my head, I had to pick one.
Like, which one again? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Do what?
I said I didn't hear that one. Can you say it again?
Oh, I said, if they're gun to my head, I'd probably pick Nuck If You Buck in a pinch. That'd be my go-to.
Okay. I'll check it out when you DM me the song or something. But anyway, like I said, programming. I know you're big on programming. Most lifters are big on programming. They always try to sell you a program, and they are swearing by some program, some principles. Tell me some of your programming that you go by. Like, I heard, knowing from you, that you go by like 5x5. You go by linear programming or linear progression, whatever. Not whatever, but you know what I mean. So tell me, elaborate.
Okay, let me start first and foremost. Like, there is no single one program that is the best, absolute, better than everything programming. So I'm not going to try to tell somebody that their way is wrong and my way is right. But I do like linear periodization. A lot of it involves 5x5. But when I'm getting ready for a meet, the typical go-to, which is subject to a little bit of change, you should always be open to a little bit of auto-regulation based on your feel, how your body feels when you're in tune with yourself. But it's basically 4 weeks of 3x10, followed by 4 weeks of 5x5, followed by 4 weeks of 3x5, followed by 4 weeks of 3x3, and then, 2 to 3 weeks of hitting some heavy singles, getting prepared for the meet is basically my, in-season programming in a nutshell. Off-season, I'm still open to some fuck-around-itis. I think off-season is a good time to experiment with your programming. If you're looking to try something new, the off-season's a good time. I'm actually a big fan of Chad Wesley Smith's The Very Off-Season, where he talks about, even taking a break from powerlifting altogether and doing, something like strongman or doing some Olympic lifts, box jumps, things like that as well.
I followed Chad Wesley Smith for a long time, even since he squatted 800. He just first made the Juggernaut program. And while Kevin Torres was still, he held the junior or something world record, if I'm not mistaken. He squatted, he was basically a teenager, maybe 19. But anyway, we go way back with him. And I remember even seeing Juggernaut still being known, and it was in the magazines and stuff. But enough of that. Anyway, more questions. How did you first know you were strong?
As a kid, you wrestle with other kids, you arm wrestle, you play football, play sports with them. And for the most part, most of the kids, I could take them in pretty much anything physical involving, strength, body slamming them, takedowns, etc. So I kind of always felt, stronger than most of my peers, even back in like elementary school. Obviously, I had no clue what barbell lifts were and that I was going to be strong at that, but I always kind of had an inkling that I was stronger than most of my friends.
Okay. Did you play any sports as a kid? Were you physically active? And how were you as a kid? Skinny, tall, short, fat? What were you?
So I was a skinny kid.
No, continue.
For the most part, until I kind of got tall at the end of middle school, but I was always pretty skinny. And then I played sports that really have nothing to do with strength at all. I played soccer, baseball, basketball, and volleyball were the main sports I played as a kid. And then,
you say
organized anyway. As far as like the neighborhood kids and stuff, we play whatever, football, freeze tag, shit like that.
Would you say the sports you played as a kid that had nothing to do with lifting, like football, wrestling, or anything physical, you play like more endurance, running, and speed sports? Is that why even a fat guy like you has a vertical? That's a box jump that's so high? Do you consider yourself pretty explosive?
I'm probably more explosive than average. I don't know that, and that's one area where I knew I was stronger than a lot of my friends. A lot of my other friends were definitely jumping higher than me. So it certainly helped. I won't deny that. I know that for a long time, probably the end of middle school and the first few years of high school, I was really obsessed with grabbing a 10-foot rim. So I did spend a lot of time practicing jumping then.
Okay, and what were your favorite sports? What are your favorite sports currently, and as a kid, what were your favorite sports?
To play, definitely basketball, and then, the little bit of sandlot backyard football we played. Those are my two favorite to play. Even today, I don't play basketball as much anymore, given my size and my fragile ankle. It's just not smart, but certainly I would still enjoy playing basketball. And as far as a spectator, I like watching football, even though they're starting to govern out my favorite part, which is the huge hits. But that's probably still my favorite sport to watch.
Man, damage to the brain, man. They're trying
Yeah.
to not get another junior sale. But anyway, what are your favorite athletes anyway, growing up and currently? Favorite athletes, favorite lifters, etc.
Dennis Rodman's my favorite all-time basketball player. I like him. Not only do we share the same first name, and he got with Madonna and Carmen Electra, so props to him.
Yeah, two hot chicks,
but when I played basketball, I was a fairly skilled guy, but I enjoyed the rebounding, the playing defense, boxing out, doing the dirty work, and he epitomized that. He was the worm. That's what he did well. He rebounded. He always guarded the other team's best player. So I really looked up to that. Of course, I was a Michael Jordan fan too because I grew up in that era. But he is definitely my favorite basketball player. Other athletes, Emmitt Smith. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Ooh.
Well,
hey man, cool.
You're up there in Philly, right?
I mean, I live in New Jersey, but family history from Philly. That was like the first country, all that shit. But anyway,
Gotcha.
Continue. First country.
Ken Griffey Jr. in baseball. I looked up to so many athletes as a kid. I basically lived watching ESPN anytime I could watch TV back then. And then as far as strength sports, it was John Paul Stigmerson and Arnold Schwarzenegger were really the two first strength athletes, if you will, that I really looked up to and admired. Arnold, obviously, growing up when we grew up, was huge in the movies. I didn't even know what his Mr. Olympia titles were, but I just knew he was a big, muscular bodybuilder in action movies. And then John Paul Stigmerson, watching him winning the World's Strongest Mans and looking like He-Man at the same time, caught my eye in the early days back then.
All right, and what made you first want to lift? As in, we know what your background is. We know you are a lifter, but what was that eureka moment? I must become a powerlifter. I must just embark on this journey and never stop until I get crippled or dead, or until other priorities take over, which is fine because there's more to life. But anyway, what made you first want to just say, you know what, powerlifter Dennis, let's go?
I first touched the bench in 8th grade, and I knew kind of before then, even probably back watching World's Strongest Man when I was 7 or 8 years old, that I wanted to lift weights one day. I had the desire. Obviously, at 7, 8 years old, you don't have any money, so you can't really do whatever you want to do. And I asked my parents, and back then there was the whole, lifting weights will stunt your growth, et cetera, misinformation. So I really didn't get to. I would do some push-ups and stuff here and there when I could. But I finally got to touch a barbell in 8th grade, and it was really awesome. And then at high school, they had weightlifting classes that you can take. So I signed up 9th grade year.
My high school had that.
And obviously it was a popular elective. So I signed up 9th grade, I didn't get it. And I signed up 10th grade, I didn't get it. And I signed up again in 11th grade, and I finally got in there. So I got to take weightlifting, which they called it weightlifting, but it was really just bench pressing. And then going in the gym and going with the rest of the
who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
But I got to do that for the whole school year. So 9 months of that. And I took my bench press from 145 to 275. And I knew I always had a desire. After I got out of that class, I didn't really have the capacity to do it again, obviously broke and all that stuff and being a teenager. So I finally picked it up again in my early 20s. And again, all I knew was benching and curling. So I did that.
Girls,
and then
girls.
That's right. Fast forward a few years, and I decided to upload what I thought was my godlike bench press to YouTube, and ended up, finding this whole community, and that's when powerlifting came into play.
And then it was like, you know what? Your bench press is not God in your eyes. It became Jesus Christ. In fact, Jesus was the Son of God. So maybe like Moses, or dare I say, Muhammad. But
There
anyway.
you go. Hey, Toby, give me just a second.
What?
Give me just a minute.
Fast forward, the powerlifting community. That's how I knew you, through YouTube. I just saw your lift and it's like, hey, man, what's up? But anyway, there are definitely pros and cons of the powerlifting community. Would you explain to them what some of the pros?
Okay, so
community, person and internet.
Yes, that was the first thing I was going to mention. So for a new powerlifter getting into powerlifting, the internet can be an incredibly great source of information. However, the community on the internet is incredibly toxic. Do not let that, discourage you in any way. I honestly, if I was a beginner, I would observe some of the community online and anonymously take what bits and pieces of positivity I could. I wouldn't even post my own shit on there, as a beginner. And I would just take what I learned from the internet, apply it, to what I could in my training, and then go to a meet. Don't interact with any powerlifters ever on the internet until you go to a meet first, because a meet is an absolutely incredibly positive environment. Everybody there is rooting for you. The guy with the biggest, strongest total there will probably cheer your little poverty lift the hardest. And everybody's there will be happy to exchange information. We'll be happy to let you know who coaches them, where to look for resources, what you did this time that maybe you could change next time, etc. In person, it is 100% opposite of the community that's presented online.
Exactly. Like even me, I've done 3 meets, and even me, the weakest people there, I'm happy for them. I'm cheering them on, not just cheering them on. I hope they continue. I hope they don't give up. I cheer for them. I want them to do well. And I'm like that on the internet too. Don't get me wrong. I'm really like that. That's the person I am. And I'm like that to anybody who's just giving it their best. And even somebody strong or someone in my competition, I don't want to beat somebody who, I mean, not like I'm a world record holder or anything or in that level. I just do this for fun. But if I'm close to somebody and we're neck and neck, I don't want to beat somebody on their bad day. I want to beat someone on their best day. I don't want to see someone. That's how it is. Okay, now you already explained the cons, so we don't have to get to that. Anyway, you also tell us where you train and what environment you train. Like, say the difference between the commercial gyms and if I'm not mistaken, you train in a powerlifting or strongman specific gym now. Explain the differences and explain how being around each affect your progress.
All right, so I initially started just training by myself. I had my own bench I bought, and then I was kind of limited with space and equipment, so I got a gym membership to a commercial style gym, and it was adequate at first, but the only thing at a commercial gym, people will gawk at, insignificant lifts, and it'll give you that big fish in a small pond feeling. I know at the commercial gym, there was only 12 45-pound plates total. And I'd be benching, I'd be warming up and I'd have 2 plates on the bench and everybody would be just stopping and staring. And, in my Billy Mays voice, I'd be like, but wait, there's more. And, work up to 4 plates on each side. I got my first 500-pound bench was at that commercial gym. And, it's a different environment. You can still make gains at a commercial gym. If that's all you have available to you, by all means, go there and wear it out. But the difference from going from that commercial gym I went to a bench press contest at a new gym that opened in my town. I won the bench press competition, and the gym owner was like, "Hey, man, you should start training here at my gym." And the commercial gym I was at, you had to buy 3 months at a time. And I was like, well, I still got a month over there. He said, man, your first month here's free. It's on me. I said, hey, say no more. So I started going there, and I was no longer the strongest person at the gym. When I got there, there was a 220 lifter who had a bigger total than me. So there was
just
legit.
had the stronger bench.
I definitely had the stronger bench, yeah, for sure. He out squatted and out deadlifted me at the time. So I get there, and it's just a completely different environment. Instead of the like the smooth jazz radio playing, there's either rap or metal or something playing. The people that you're training with are like-minded. They're not there just to be in shape or tone up
at the females, man.
Right, or to gawk at the females. They're there to train. Of course, the limited amount of females we get in there, there's still eyes will be diverted from time to time.
Obviously,
women in yoga pants. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yoga pants since like the 2000s.
But
it used to be the skirts.
Yeah, for sure. But, just training with individuals who have the same goals in mind, who want to push you, who you push back, who do have similar lifts to you. Even that, like, I don't mind training with anybody, but training with somebody on your, on or close or above your level, it makes you put in that extra effort to either surpass them or stay ahead of them or try to catch up to them. It's just the environment at a powerlifting strongman specific gym. It's just so conducive to so much more gains and, makes you want to put in that extra effort.
Okay. So we already said that. And now let's get down to business. So what is your... All right, so let's talk about some of the assistant lifts. So the front squat. I saw you post stuff. You are a strong front squatter. You're just a strong squatter in general. You have a 550-pound naked knee front squat. That's just incredible. And you could have even gone 600 down the road, even naked knee. And I remember back then you were front squatting 505. That was the first big front squat I saw from you. I was like, damn, you got 500 before me. And then I got my 500. And then after my 500, I did an easy 515. But then you were like, Tobi, you now front squat more than me. And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't say it. I just said thanks because, hey, man, it's always going to be like Tobi is always downing on himself. Take a compliment. But in my back of my mind, I was like, you know what? 515. It's an impressive lift. It's in sleeves. It's impressive and shit like that. But yours was naked knee. I got weight out of the sleeves on my front squat. And yours was naked knee. That's more impressive. Yeah, people are going to give a whole essay about knee sleeves do nothing. People are going to give an essay about you don't get extra points on a knee. I had a meet competing in knees without knee sleeves than you do with sleeves. But it matters. It really matters. It matters. But they're right in a way. In powerlifting, you just want to follow the rules the best to your ability. Even if you do a crazy-ass arch bench or sumo the shit out of your deadlift. You just want to lift the most amount of weight following the rules to the best of the ability. And if the lift is passed, it's passed. And exactly. You just want to lift train and lift in the best way you can increase your lift and overall your total. But anyway, that's just the front squat. Tell us what you think.
As far as the knee sleeve thing, I personally don't feel like I don't get much out of knee sleeves. I can't speak for other people, obviously. Of course, I didn't. The knee sleeves I got, I didn't buy mine 2 sizes too small or anything. Mine are very easy to get on, just to keep my knees warm. But I enjoy front squatting. Front squatting is a fun lift for me. And it's more for the fun at this point than carryover. I'm sure, it obviously it carries over more to my deadlift than my squat.
Yeah, it over to my deadlift too. Give me more leg drive.
Right, but I enjoy doing them, and it's typically obviously right now my knee is a little iffy, so I'm not doing it. But typically, I replace my squats at the beginning of every off season with front squats.
Do you feel like it gives you extra quad growth? And even people are saying, "Yeah, but I have a gut. You have a gut." Dennis, the fat man. Dennis has a gut. Yeah, take your gut and shove it up your butt. Anyway, anyway, this is the thing about gut. Do you feel like the front squat gives you a strong core?
Yes, I would say it definitely so to speak. That along with the safety squat bar probably hit the core the hardest of any compound movements that aren't necessarily core specific, if you will.
My back is too much of a cripple to even do safety bar squat. I remember I did an easy 425 for a set of 10 in the belt and sleeves. I could have done 15, but after 10, I had to stop because I was folded over like a leaf that it gets crumbled. Bad analogy, but that shit just folded me over. And my back was bad. I had to see a chiro. Me and that lift doesn't agree. But I'll do it again one of these days because I like the lift. Anyway, do you also feel like front squats, especially with the barbell, help? I mean, any freaking squat. It just has to be heavy. You'll get good legs. But what do you think about front squat and leg development? Quads specifically.
I think the front squat definitely can be a good builder of your quads. I think it may play second fiddle to a high bar back squat, only because on the front squat, aside from choking yourself out, a lot of times your upper back will give way before your quads give out anyway. And with a high bar back squat, you can load not only more weight, but you can easily get in more volume as well without having to worry about, either passing out from choking yourself out with a barbell or your upper back giving out before your quads.
Okay. And I believe nobody talked about this, to my knowledge, before you have the safety bar front squat. You're the one that said it's like a low bar squat. And then Kevin Oak later said, I remember the days when Kevin Oak first posted I believe 735 or 740 low bar safety bar front squat, and people are like, yeah, man, that's a really big front squat, which it is. If I do that shit, I'm just gonna go straight to the floor or go forward and it fails. But you're the first one that says like a low bar squat and explain some scientific mechanics until Kevin Oak, who later did 775 front squat, which it's, I guess, a front squat. It's in the front, but better yet, safety bar front squat. And he's a strong ass dude, so I'll never be at his level. But I believe he later said, I think I watched from your videos or your posts or something, that Kevin Oak talks about the safety bar front squat because it helps him sit back in a squat. And I remember Kevin Oak. I watched Kevin Oak before when he was a high squatting. I mean, he was a quarter squatter. He was that dude in the commercial gym, quarter squatting 505 for near a set of 20. He hit a high 700-pound squat, which was close to the 220 raw record back then. This was like 2015 or 2014, one of them. And I remember this was when he was still deadlifting. I think he hit a trap bar deadlift of 800 pounds. And now fast forward, he squats deep. He has limited back pain. I'm sure he still has back pain. But anyway, like I said, talk about the safety bar front squat. You're one of the first people that talked about it. So what's the difference?
Okay, so if anybody's used a safety squat bar, you'll know that the end of the bar is cambered. So it puts the weight more forward in its camber when you have it, using it like it's designed to be used, which mimics a front squat, almost when you're using it on your back like it's intended. When you turn the safety squat bar around to do a front squat with it, that camber puts the weight back behind you like a back squat. So it is completely not a front squat at all at that point. What Kevin Oak uses it for obviously helps him accomplish his goals, but people see that without knowing why he's doing it, and they'll, go from front squatting 315 with the barbell and, oh, this is uncomfortable, this sucks. They'll put a safety squat bar on their front and front squat with it, and all of a sudden they're doing 4 plates, and they're like, oh, hey, front squat PR. Well, it's at that point, you're not doing a front squat. If you want to label it a safety squat bar front squat, by all means, go for it. But if you're intending to get the same benefit of a front squat with a safety squat bar, use the safety squat bar the correct way, and it much more mimics the front squat than trying to front squat with it, because the camber of that bar, will set the weights behind you when you try to front squat with it.
I agree. I really agree. And if you want to call it like what it isn't, like you want to call it a front squat, at least acknowledge and own up to it later that it's not a traditional front squat, it's a safety bar squat. But again, just hold yourself accountable and own up to it later.
Right.
But call it whatever you freaking want to, but just at least acknowledge and own up to it. Don't mislead people, and don't be delusional. But anyway,
exactly.
More about the bench press. What you said? You have to bench more to bench. Just like anything, you have to do more of anything to do it. Bruce Lee even said, I don't fear the man that practiced 10,000 kicks one time, but one kick 10,000 times. 10,000 hours into something, you be a sage. Or whatever okay, I don't want to use language. But anyway, OHP. Yeah, like I haven't used language before. But anyway, OHP, the overhead press. Some say it's good for shoulder health. Some say it has carryover to bench. Some say that it doesn't carry over to bench, but bench carries over to overhead. What do you have to say?
I am definitely in the bench press carries over to the overhead press camp. I've been pretty vocal about that. The standing strict overhead press is going to do absolutely nothing for your bench press, in my opinion, other than it being for shoulder health. If bench pressing,
getting them big juicy delts, bruh. Getting boulder shoulders.
That's right. If bench press were my sole goal, as it should be with powerlifting, because your strict overhead press doesn't add to your total. The only programming of overhead press I would even consider, and myself when I'm in season, I don't overhead press, but all I would consider, doing some very lightweight rep work just for shoulder health and to get a little bit of a pump. But I absolutely wouldn't expend any energy on making my overhead press better in hopes that my overhead press going up will make my bench press go up. Conversely, if I was programming somebody to get a big overhead press, obviously overhead press would take precedence over bench press, but bench press would be one of, if not the main secondary, / accessory movement in the program. And I would be looking to make somebody's bench press stronger alongside of their overhead press getting stronger to get some carryover from bench press to overhead press.
Okay. And I agree. I mean, it's different for different people, but you said it, you prove it, and yeah, I take your word for it. Anyway, handstand push-ups. You're also very strong on those, and it's some people say you could get big shoulders off it, which you can if you are strong enough on it, like anything, even a freaking push-up. in a pistol squat. And some others say, you know what? It's just something you do when you don't go, when there's no weight access, or it's just like, hey, look, ma, I could, look, ma, no hands. If it's the same, look, I could do it. Look, you call me fat? Look at me. Drop and give me 20, fatty. I do, sorry, I don't mean to trigger you by saying fat. This is coming from a this is coming from a fellow fat guy myself. That people are like, hey, Toby, why don't you cut and get bitches? Hey, man, bitches like me when I'm fat. So what are you talking about?
That's
But anyway,
right.
it doesn't matter. Anyway, so the thing is, uh, they're like, it's a party trick. It's like, I bet you can't do this, and then like, whoop, you do a backflip. So
Right.
that's like basically a party trick. What do you have to say?
It's definitely a look ma no hands party trick for me.
And maybe part two, we will talk about Jason Genova. In part two, we'll do a part two once I actually, whenever you want, or once I actually get enough subscribers, get enough followers, get enough revenue. There will be a part two, that's definite. But
Sounds
once I
good.
get more known, once I get more known and stuff like that, where I get more subscribers, more followers, more shit like that, there will be a part two. We'll talk about Jason Genova. Now, signing off. So, any advice to anybody watching this that wants to do the things you did, and any advice to any upcoming lifters or anyone who wants to follow in your footsteps? What do you have to say? And also, what are you about?
Just
And
work hard, work consistently, work smart. Don't let negative outside influences change your direction. Be yourself, whether people think it's right or wrong. And if you are a teenage lifter right now, about to transition into adulthood, work on your credit score.
get money. Popping that Skrilla.
I'm telling you, hey, you don't even necessarily have to have money with credit. People will let you borrow exorbitant amounts of money, and I wish somebody taught me that when I was younger.
You see this house? My parents have money. But anyway.
Goddamn, Toby.
We're gonna end it here. As you can see, I'm not as sleepy as I was last night, man. I just needed sleep. I was like, man. So this is a better interview. Take them when they come. And signing off, it was a pleasure redoing this interview, and thanks for being patient. Thanks for even taking a second interview. Most people will be like, hey man, F off. You don't make sense. The first interview, you wasted my time. But you stuck around, so signing out. All right, see you, Dennis.
See
Nice
you, Toby. You as well, and I'm down for part two whenever you're ready.
All right, part two coming up later in a future date. All right, peace. I'll try to end this when I learn.